Hey everybody, Mr. Solomon here, and a bit something different from the usual Dragon Saga videos. Those who have been paying attention to the developer Discord for official over the course of the past few weeks or month or so likely noticed a series of teaser images and sort of things that Popcorn and crew are sort of hinting at for a future update. Now, I'm not in his Discord personally. We had a bit of a disagreement, but we'll just leave it at that. It's a bit of a disagreement, and not to go into any elaborate detailing. However, thanks to a friend of mine, we have access to these screenshots, and with no bias, no nothing, we're going to just go at this in neutral perspective from a player of the official server for a long time who's seen this game through quite a few different go through quite a few different patches. So let's begin. So let's go off. Image number one. This seems to be in Snowy Mountain. His character is getting attacked by a group of monsters, but notice something peculiar. Right there, yeah. The monster is delivering a critical hit. One of them is, at least. Looks like he got hit a couple times, which means monsters are going to be getting critical hit damage in PVM. That's peculiar. However, there is something, however, to note. Like, there's, like, blurred out imagery here under the names of several of these, including his own, which means there's, like, a little status that will likely go below our names and monster names that sort of explain a few mechanics that are supposed to explain some things, like special symbols or whatnot. He's blurred them out, obviously, which means we don't really know what's to be expected. So, yeah. But it looks things like monsters are getting a critical hit rate, and it looks like they're going to be getting a little list below their stat, below their name and level, explaining some other things from a mechanic. See if we can go to the next one here. Alright, so next image here. This one doesn't really explain much, but I feel like a couple images down the line, like, we can explain this better. From the looks of things, he's attacking with a fairly low-level weapon, and said low-level weapon is only dealing 1 damage to what is essentially a level 72 monster, if this is the same Snowy Mountain as the first image. So, yeah, he's level 85, you can see. It looks like he has a lot of gear pieces unequipped because he hardly has any HP. He has a ton of MP, but that's likely just something he tweaked to himself with a GM command or something so that he wouldn't have to worry about healing MP for skills. So, not much we can get out of this one, but it's good to note. Third, now this one is peculiar. You see that, like, okay, so when your gear is low durability, I know the image size is a lot to be desired, but that's the actual size in game, so it fits. Normally, when your gear is damaged, they show like a orange-reddish glow on this equip menu, which pops up suddenly when one of your gear pieces is low durability. But notice how here he's like, there's red, there's purple. Now, there was a lot of interpretations of what this probably could be, but the next screenshot is actually explaining the purple. Aside from Popcorn himself, one second, posting information, one of Popcorn's team members who assists in testing and whatnot, named Wunny, also revealed a few teaser explanations. Now, a lot of these are out of order and date, and that's because I kind of ordered them in a mix between when I got them and when they should link up. So this one is actually one I just got not too long ago from Discord. And here's the explanation. It's really simple. If any regular gear you wear is more than 15 levels below your character level, it will step by step lower its attack value, weapon, and its magic defense value, gear. If the in-game gear you're wearing reaches a point of being 30 levels below your character, then the weapons will always deal 1 damage, and your magic defense and defense value will be 0. So from the looks of things, whatever top, boots, and weapon he's wearing are drastically different in level, and thus he'll get reduced effectiveness from it. So that makes sense. The level That's a glacial staff. That's level 10, and he's fighting a level 72 monster, and he's level 85. That's a 75 level difference. So of course it's going to deal 1 damage, and likely because he's wearing less effective armor, he's going to be taking more damage too. So let's continue onward. Of course, the final value, including enchant, soulcraft, if you upgraded your item, is used for this calculation. This means, for example, if you use a level 40 plus 20 element weapon, this damage might still be useful at a time a not upgraded one would no longer be, taking the damage output into consideration here. Now this makes a lot of sense to, same for your gear of course. This makes a lot of sense because, for example, one of the most recommended weapons a lot of people will say to level from 65 to the 80s is an Heirloom Lightning Oak. It's a level 65 weapon. By level 80, it'll be the 15 level difference, which means it'll start to degrade, but not quite. And plus, by then, you're level 81 and likely going for a POS weapon anyways, so that's not really that big a problem. Or even an Elga weapon, so yeah, that's not real at 77, so you're not going to suffer that right away. Sets like Bone Dragon, for example, they last until the mid-70s. Bone Dragon Sekmathian lasts until the mid-70s. Elga lasts into the 80s and even into 85 if you want to just go from Elga to 5th Hero. Yeah, that works. That legitimately works. So, yeah, a level 40 plus 20 element weapon is roughly similar in power to like a level 60-something weapon. So, yeah, that will work still. So they take that into account. There'll be a calculation where, you know, the weapon level equivalent will start to still work. Accessories, balloons, and back items are ignored. This is because, well, you can use accessories throughout the game. Like, for example, let's say Lavalon and Reviewus rings. They're very good. They're good. They give a broad, like, mixture of stats and whatnot. Aram rings also. And plus they're used to, and like, for example, the Aram Perseverance upgrades into a better item. The Concordia rings and Solar rings and whatnot, like weapon like accessories meant for like the 40s, 50s, and 60s will still be useful in the 80s sometimes. So yeah, like say Cryos rings for attack, or let's say what else? Hero Sign of Khazra. That applies until that works until level 65. So of course they're not going to make accessories take this into account. Shoulders, if worn, will only grant you slight defense magic defense bonus if worn, and if they are within the 15 level range, there's no malice on shoulders. Well, she likely listed shoulders as an example because shoulders are typically the lowest defensive item out of everything we wear. And sometimes people wear shoulders with low defense values, like, say, Mutissa shoulders, until, you know, POS. So that's fine. So this is what it means. If it's red and blinking, the item is broken. It's always been like that. Purple means the 30 level difference is applied. Your item has lost more than 50% of its original stat value. Orange is a 16 to 29 level difference, and it's lost at least 50%. This probably mistranslated. Probably means up to 50% of its original values. Yellow is your item is 16 levels, like starting to get past that 15 level difference, and you're either going to suffer from decreased stats or look for a replacement. So as you can see here, the pants are red, which means they're probably broken. The helmet is orange-ish, so it's likely getting into the, 16 to 29 level difference. And the purples mean they're really different. They're over 30 levels, and they definitely need an upgrade. Oh, shoot. Didn't mean to show that yet. So, yeah, that's an explanation we could see here. And so it looks to me like part of this combat change mechanic is emphasizing, like, a need to constantly keep your gear up to snuff. Now, when you're 85, this doesn't matter. The highest level difference you're probably going to be wielding in an item is maybe level 60, like maybe 25 levels. So you'll start to see orange on your gear constantly. So, yeah. Or it could be like 20 levels or something because you're wearing something like, say, oh, you need attack rings, but you don't want to get solars yet. So you're using Cryos until you can get Element Spirit. Or you're using a Burloon helmet, or you're using a Mutissa Expert Shoulders, or a Boost Pack Omega for a cape until you get Paris Wings, or POS Wings, or Fifth Hero Cape. Yeah, something like that. That's probably what we're going to be seeing a lot. But, of course, how's that going to matter? Like, that means that at first I was concerned, like, Burloon Mask is a very popular, like, headgear, and it's level 60, but the cap is 85, which means we're going to be seeing orange on it constantly. It's going to have 50% of its original defense values. But even at plus 20, Burloon Helmet is fairly low defense, so it doesn't really matter. Some people don't even plus 20 there. And plus, a lot of people have been going for the Deckard Helmet lately anyways, which gets elementized to a level 80 plus helmet, so that doesn't ever matter. The stock Deckard Helmet would probably be yellow because it's level 69. However, the Element one will never apply to this, so they're trying to emphasize upgrading your gear to match your level with everything except accessories, balloons, and back items. And the reason they said balloons is because balloons at absolute highest level, like say Trip Ticket, are level 30. So they knew that, and all balloons are level 1, so if they have attack and defense and magic attack, and also balloons have attack, defense, and magic attack values, as well as accessories and balloons. But okay, back items aren't applied, so a boost pack will be a good cape to use still. Paris wings, etc. Shoulders. So, yeah. Next image is something, a bunch of something, whatever the heck this is. Holy crap. Series of stats below the HP bar of a typical boss. This is Chief Rocco. Looks like to be a standard valid Wraith, probably 2 or 3 people in the party because he has over 1 million HP. It's got the standard element resistance, doesn't show level or anything, but it shows a series of 5 different stat categorizations. Of course, symbols are blotted out, but we could probably interpret what they are. A later screenshot would basically say there's going to be 9 new stats, and these are probably the 9 new stats, but we can't really tell what they are. First off, we already know that monsters can crit, so this could be crit chance, crit damage right here. But the rest, I have no idea. This looks believable to be crit chance, crit damage because it's plus 25% crit chance. That's fairly reasonable for an enemy, and 25% critical, 250% critical damage. That's just a bit above our default. So yeah, his crits are actually going to be fairly high. But these other stats, we don't know what they're going to be yet, and these are the stats that are going to end up replacing aim, evade, and block. So that's of major concern. Not to mention, what the heck is 60%, 20/70, 40/50? I feel like these stats all relegate to something, like maybe damage reductions or damage applications, aside from their critical rate. I think we'll have to look into this more with later screenshots. So let's go on to the next one. Same thing, this is a dungeon boss, but this seems to be a much stronger dungeon boss. This is Mutissa from Kandara Dungeon. However, the HP bar seems to insinuate that this is expert mode, where he has 14 million HP. 14 million HP does make a lot of sense for a higher level expert mode boss. As you can see, he has the standard element resistances. If this is crit rate, crit damage, this does seem reasonable. 40% crit rate, 300% damage. But again, these other stats are fairly confusing. We don't know what these stats are supposed to be. From the looks of things, like, they could be potentially hard-hitting because 100%, 100%. So, yeah. And even then, like, who knows? This could actually be the level 60 Mutissa from the end of regular Kandara. Maybe they inflated his HP bar to buff him, but who knows? We don't know the exact details of this. These are teasers. We won't see this probably for a few more months. These are like work in progress teasers. They're not meant to be working for a few more months. So you can see like ones in the background, which means he's probably hitting the boss with like a level 1 weapon to show the case the level differences, how much it matters. Anyways, still, there's not much that we can interpret from this, but as you can see, there's 9 new stats. We already know 2 of them to be monster crit rate and monster damage, critical damage. So let's move on. Maybe we'll figure it out. Here's a new gear menu, and we can see like a few key things with his gear that coincide with the mechanics explained by Oney here. First off, let's look at the gear. His weapon of choice is a level 10 staff. We can already insinuate that's way higher than 30. He's got no gear for a lot of areas, but this is a stock Deckard helmet from the looks of things. I don't think it's the element version, which is level 69, which means 16 level difference, meaning he's starting to feel an effect. Bracelet doesn't matter. This is like a level 58 bracelet, so that's fine. The gloves are Hero POS, which is, well, they don't apply the stock reduction. These are stock like level 60 pants. So yeah, they do apply to the level difference here. So here are the new stats. Okay, default attack defense bonus. Those are the same as they always been. Recently, with the removal of aim, evade, and block from equipment set bonuses, damage reduction has become the replacement for the special stat tab that had crit rate, crit damage. So likely this will be a new stat menu for damage reductions. But here's another one, time reduction. We don't know what that means yet. That could mean anything. And defense break, okay, we can guarantee now that there's going to be a new stat involving defense breaking, and likely how much of the defense gets lowered when the defense gets broken. So there's probably going to be 2 stats, like chance of breaking defense, and so okay, we can insinuate that there's at least, so we can insinuate that we can interpret that there's going to be at least a couple new stats. First off is monster critical chance. Simple enough. Stat number 2 is monster critical damage. Now then, with this new thing, damage reduction and time reduction, we can probably work off this alone with information we already have. Defense break is probably going to be divided into 2 aspects. Defense break chance or value, where basically the chance of your gear, of your attacks breaking the opponent's defenses. So we can write that in parentheses. Needed to break. Alright, this is Notepad. Defense, and likely and defense break value, which is the effectiveness of broken defenses, meaning how much of your damage gets increased when you break someone's defense. Let's see. Alright, so we have damage reduction, so likely damage reduction could be something like what replaces block rate, like block value. So let's see here. Damage reduction could be like physical. It could be divided into physical / magical damage reduction, and likely chance of or actually no, we can interpret this differently. We could refer to a stat sort of like enduring hits. Like enduring a hit so that your defense gets reduced. The damage you take gets greatly reduced. Like say you brace yourself for the impact. So enduring hit. So like enduring hit chance and enduring hit value. Now this is all speculatory, by the way. Popcorn will likely point out and say that I got all this wrong. So whatever. If I got it wrong, I got it wrong. So enduring hit chance, enduring hit value. And I'm actually kind of getting ahead of myself here, but time reduction could be, well, because there's a defense break, we can ensure that there's likely a defense broken time reduction stat, which makes it to where time subtracted from broken defense state. So we can sort of insinuate and already get from this right away that we could probably debate a good deal of damage reduction of the new stats. So here we can see the next screenshot is something that I was right about. It seems like an opponent's monster, a monster or opponent can smack you so hard that your defenses get broken and temporarily disoriented and lowered. As you can see here, he took a whopping 3k damage from a monster hit, which is fairly high because his defenses got broken. I don't know how much of his defense got reduced, but if the gear matches here, then yeah, like a defense break would probably kill him. Like this could be a Legend plus 20 glove, which gives him enough defense to endure most damage in PVM early on. So yeah, that could make a lot of sense. They're work in progress, obviously, so the hit splats do look weird. So yeah, I could say we're right about this. So we're gonna put things that we know that there's gonna be monster crit chance, monster crit damage, defense break chance, defense break value, which means effectiveness of broken defenses, like how much of your defense gets reduced. And like I said, right here, this is where I got the idea of defense reduced. Right after defense broken, he posted damage reduced, which means that he took a hit, but it's reduced damage, so he took a lot less damage. And there it goes. Same. It can apply to a crit. So yeah, you can endure a crit. So, and this is where another screenshot here states 4 go out and 9 come in. This was one of the hints that Popcorn insinuated. 4 stats go out, 9 stats come in. We can already tell what 4 stats go out, which is aim, evade, block chance, and block value. Because block chance and block value are 2 separate stats. Block chance is basically the chance of blocking a hit, and value is how much % damage is shaved off from blocking a hit. So we've gotten a good deal of, we've gotten at least 7 of them like debated and guessed out. So we can kind of mix them up and apply them to this boss value right here. So monster crit chance, 40%, monster crit damage there. We could put something like, say, chances of breaking various defenses here, chances of enduring a hit, and how much of the damage reduction gets applied when they endure a hit, like that. You can probably break a monster's defense, and which can allow you to hit them much harder, and that's how much effectiveness of the defense break is applied. So yeah, but what are the other 2? We haven't quite gotten everything down yet. From the looks of things, yes, there's time reduction and defense break, but we could also insinuate that the time reduction and damage reduction could mean other stats, like, say, defense broken time reduction. They could also put, like, debuff time reduction. Popcorn could implement that. Let's see here. Like, monsters apply debuffs on hit. The spinning ball and chain zombies can apply curse. A lot of monsters apply burn, bleed, poison. It could be like that. Or another thing that we can interpret is defense broken, like how much value from your broken defense is lost. That could be a fairly easy that could be a fairly easy interpretation of what it could be. Who really knows? However, so as you can see here, yeah, we can easily interpret that a handful of stats might be value. We could even insinuate that the values of defense break can apply to both physical and magical, like defense break chance and then a value for physical and a value for magical. Or stupid phone. Anyways, broke my concentration there. So yeah, we could see that there could be a handful of complicated stat values and things that could be added to the game to insinuate, let me block his, to sort of effectively apply difficulty to PVM, and these apparently, according to this screenshot here, PvP. In the PvP side of things, I think this is going to be quite very difficult to adapt to. If you haven't PvP'd an official, everyone's kind of a stat stick. Like, they have hundreds of thousands of health, they have tons of defenses, they have max crit rate, crit damage, and highest attack stats possible. They hit hard, but they have a lot of, like, bulk to take the hits. So, if defense break applies in PvP, that's basically an insta-kill. I don't know if you've ever tried to PvP someone when you have no defense. It's not easy. Like, one hit and you're gone. Like, gear difference has always been a thing, but then again, official has gone out and said on record that they don't really support PvP too much anymore. They think it's sort of a bonus, so it's likely that these will be hard balanced more for PvE, whilst the PvP just takes a side effect. Like, what's a good example of this here? Like, say, in League of Legends, everyone plays Summoner's Rift, and all the game balancing goes around Summoner's Rift. But other game modes, and, like, all random, all mid, and promotional game modes don't get balance applied to them, or they get it very rarely. That's going to be kind of what it is. This is going to be hard-coded and hard-balanced for PvE, but PvP is going to very likely have a side effect of it. That's it. It's going to get applied to it, but it's not going to be really dedicated, balanced for it. So, in terms of, to discuss this matter a bit more, we'll probably have to go on a record and say, this is very difficult to say, get going. Like, it's very difficult to say, like, how this will impact. If this applies to PVM, it applies a new layer of difficulty and things to care about in PVM, aside from just killing as fast as possible. But in my personal opinion, there needs to be substance. There has to be something he adds with this update to make it work. Because you can't just, like, these aren't even the final, like, list of changes. This could be horribly wrong, but as you can see here, it's a long set of complicated stat values and everything like that applied to a game that is right now, like, there needs to be something with it. A major patch update is likely going to be bringing this about, but what's going to be included with it? He needs something to include with it, and in my personal opinion, he needs to, like, apply it to a new set of, like, a new major content patch, like new missions, new dungeons, new gear, new items to emphasize these stats. He can't just alter existing, and because, like, what's existing in Dragon Saga that these stats will majorly apply to? Let's see here. What exists at early game, it will matter greatly because it'll emphasize dodging and avoiding hits, which is something that players learn quickly has to be done in PVM. So, like, but what is it in the late game that will get players to want to stick around and, like, say, oh, we gotta adapt to this? Let's see here. Because they're players with max gear. They have everything done. Max soul gems, legend, plus 20, fully socketed, fully element socketed, all sorts of, like, max gear. Like, he has to apply something to make this work, to make us have to slog through this, have to adapt to these changes, because otherwise, like, oh, my gear is already perfect. Like, the level difference penalty is not going to apply to me because all my gear is level 80, and the gears that are not 80 are either, like, already 0 defense and will still apply their stats, or are already, or basically are accessories, capes, and whatnot, so they don't apply. So, yeah, we can say, or their item wall gear, which doesn't apply already. So, because right now, they're at endgame. There's regular Dracos, which I don't think anybody runs anymore, except to get stuff for future trade-ins. There's expert modes, which are run mostly for leveling and specific gear hunting, which isn't really that big a deal. Like, yeah, I guess it can make farming Deckard helmets harder, or farming red and blue Paris wings harder. There's Elga, but Official doesn't really want to do anything with Fellowship raids, and Elga has been kind of sidetracked as a sort of end game, like no longer matters as a dungeon sort of thing. There's Galaxia, but Galaxia's scaling is kind of butchered anyways, because like the content was originally made for level 50, so they had to balance it around gearless level 50 players doing the quest chain. And lastly, there's, well, endgame level missions like Harkin, Illumin, and whatever his face is in Perimeter B. Those are missions. They're very easy to clear. And lastly, there's Dungeon of Destiny, which is not really, like, you know, the stats and everything are already hyper inflated in that dungeon. So, and this extra layer of stats, like, imagine getting defense broken Dungeon of Destiny against, say, Fire Drake or the Keymart guy or Typhoon. Yeah, like when the defense break applies from them, they can already hit like a truck through 30k defenses. Like, you're pretty much just going to get people insta-killed. Like, it's going to make an Invoker mandatory. As if, like, mages weren't already mandatory in that dungeon. The dungeon's very limited in which classes can effectively clear it. Like, it's mostly an archer and mage fest in that dungeon, and whoever's tagging along for the ride is whoever's tagging along for the ride. So, yeah, like, there's not much. There has to be a content update. And I know people are going to say, but what about Pixel Saga? Well, Pixel Saga will likely be updated with this. He'll probably make part 3 to finish it off, because it looks like it was supposed to be a 3-part update. But if that's going to be it, then he needs more. I think, like, he should have had this to be released alongside a major content expansion, like the one teased at the end of Arcadia 3. And, like, here's what he could have done. He could have raised the cap to 90, added a new region to the game with a series of new maps, dungeons, and missions, and then apply all these combat mechanic changes. It could have been a huge expansion. Huge expansion, like, and it would account for all the year differences between Arcadia 3 and now. Like, yeah, that would have worked perfectly. So, I want to see, I'm looking forward to this. I want to see where it goes, but I want to see if it, I want to see if he adds more to it than just the changes. I think he has to add a new patch or content update with this. Because, yeah, like, there's a lot of detailing here. Like, you can see here, like, oh, he's now going to penalize gear level differences. And it's very emphasized. Monsters are going to crit, and not only are they going to crit, they're going to break your defense, but you can endure hits from them, too. Like, it's a lot of complex stuff, but not much is getting added. Like, there needs to be stuff alongside it. And I feel like unless there's, like, a major content patch alongside this major combat mechanic change, it's not going to be worth it. Like, players are going to just pop in, see the mechanic changes, see how it affects them, then stop. And that's the thing, like, when you're, and here's the thing, Official is emphasizing more PvE over PvP in terms of their content updates. They're not really going to balance PvP anymore, except for maybe, unless some mechanics or skills are affecting PvE as well. That's why they nerfed sniping. That's why they kind of, like, you know, that's why they had to balance Expert Dungeon and Dungeon of Destiny around summoners. So, like I said, I like what he's going with here. I think like it could work. It could work in a difficulty standpoint, but I feel as though Popcorn's gonna need something else alongside it to hook the players, because there are a lot of people with max gear who just sit there and wait for something to happen and then do that thing when it happens. If you introduce all this, what are they going to do? They're going to do some testing and then they're going to stop again. So he's got to hook players and keep them in. And I feel like that's what needs to be done to emphasize like a late game, like a new late game for Dragon Saga. Like this could be the new end game, but there needs to be something alongside all this to make the end game feel more end game, instead of what we have now for an end game, which is not 100% like perfect. So yeah, like I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time I'm gonna be kind of like keeping my eye out to see if new stuff is gonna come with it. From what we could tell, I don't think anything's going to come with it, and if nothing comes with it, I'll be kind of disappointed, because all I'm really going to be doing is popping in, testing the mechanics, and then popping out. And that's it. Because, like, who knows? Like, he didn't say anything about Groggy changes or anything so far, because Groggy's going to end up putting, like, a big hammer on this plan, because all he has to do is fill the Groggy bar, and boom, you win. For most bosses. So, like I said, there's a lot that needs to be done. And I want to thank you guys for so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments about these new stats, these new mechanic changes and whatnot. What it means for official, what it means for PvE, PvP, etc. And let's keep our eyes open, see what he's going to do with this. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys next time.